Welcome once again. Now we are starting with Module 1, Web Development Fundamentals. Now we start with how the web works. Now there is 4 categories under this, which we call the client-server architecture, the HTTP, HTTPS protocol, the web browser rendering, domain, DNS, and hosting, right? Now before we proceed, we need to understand how the web works. For example, when we go to our browser and we type maybe something like mytechweb.com, now the browsers make a request to the server and the server responds with what? Files. And the browser interprets those files and render them into the website we are seeing now, right? That's how the web works. And this process is under the protocol called HTTP and HTTPS. You can see it here in my screen. And HTTPS is a secure version because it secures your data with what? Encryption, right? Now, when we go back to our slides, let's go back to our slide again. Now, we talk of the next one, web browsers. You know, web browsers include Chrome, Safari, Firefox. So they are interpreters. That is, they interpret the files that the server responds with and then render them into the browser so that we can see, right? Now, when we talk of domain, DNS, and hosting, DNS is known as what? Domain Name System. It's just like a phone book. Now, when you type a domain name, just as the one you saw in my previous screen, mytechweb.com, now, they convert that domain name into an IP address so that the browser will know the exact place to work, to the exact server to make requests to in order to fetch the page, right? So this DNS, domain name system, is just like a phone book that translates the domain name into an IP address so that the browser will know where to fetch the page from, right? Now, when you talk of hosting just like creating a space in our internet. That is just like renting a space on the server or the internet where the website data or files is being stored, right? Now, when we move into front-end development role, right? Now we talk of the role of a front-end developer, the key skills, and then front-end versus back-end and full stack. Now, the role of a front-end developer, the key skills is just HTML, which is described as the structure, CSS, which is the styling, and JavaScript, which is what? The interactivity. That is what add life to the website. Now, when you talk of the front end developer is the one that takes care of everything that happens in the browser. That is the UI. The back end is the person that takes care of everything about the server side, the database, and the logic behind the scene. While the full stack is just the person that's in charge of both. That's the person that does both the front end and the back end. Now, when we talk of development environment setup, now we talk of some of the tools that we make use of in our front-end development. That is in our coding journey. We talk of the VS Code. So there's something we call the VS Code. It is a free, lightweight, and a more powerful code editor that supports extension and then other features. So it's a code editor, or you can call it an IDE, whereby we write our code and that code is being transformed and we can able to see them in a browser, right? Now, that's one thing we call the browser dev tools. So the browser dev tool is a very unique tool that helps us to inspect what happened in our browser. That is, especially it can help us to inspect the HTML, to text our CSS, and also to debug our JavaScript whenever we encounter error during coding, right? Now, when we talk of the version control, the version control includes the basic command, then Git, and then working with branches and GitHub. Now, what is Git? Git is a version control system that stores or records any change in your code. That is, whenever you're working on your IDE, for example, VS Code, Git records any change, any input in your code. While GitHub is now an online platform to host your Git repository and whereby you can collaborate with your fellow developers. See you.